Have you ever felt that no matter how much you try to control the world outside, the real battle takes place within you? What if the greatest prison isn't in circumstances, but in the illusion that we can master what is ephemeral? Prepare for a journey into the invisible empire, where genuine strength is born not from noise, but from silence, and where true power is revealed when we learn to navigate the winds of life with an unwavering soul. A deep conversation about spirituality and the awakening of consciousness. Today, we will delve into one of the greatest tragedies of modern man, the conviction that the external world can be controlled. This is an illusion that leads us to build sandcastles in search of a security that will never be external. We validate your search, your restlessness, perhaps even the pain of realizing that so much effort to dominate what is outside often leaves us empty inside. Seneca, one of the great masters of Stoicism, already warned us that the soul that is not led by reason will be carried away by fortune. And here, fortune does not mean wealth, but rather instability, contingency, the randomness of life. In other words, he invites us to ask, who is really in charge? The voice of reason, which is internal, or the unpredictable winds of the world? This is an invitation to deep reflection, to listen to the soul, to discover that true strength does not lie in dominating what is impermanent, but in mastering oneself. It is time to cultivate inner silence so that we can truly reconnect. From a very early age, we are conditioned to believe that security and success come from outside. We seek to control every aspect of our lives, from finances to the behavior of others, as if happiness were an equation we could solve with external logic. But ancient wisdom teaches us that this incessant search for control is, in itself, the source of much of our suffering. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminded us that the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. If external control is an illusion, then it is within us that the true work must begin. The chaos we try so hard to tame out there is often a reflection of what vibrates disorderly in our own inner silence. We validate this perception, this anguish of feeling that, no matter how much you strive, there is a restlessness that the world cannot silence. The soul is like a silent candle lit in the dark. It does not scream, it just illuminates. It does not try to dominate the wind, but remains lit despite it. And it is this incessant search for false security, for external validation, that leads us to the greatest tragedy of modern man, the conviction that the external world can be controlled. Nourished by a blind faith in technology and institutions, we build sandcastles in search of security, progress, and even acceptance. But, as ancient wisdom reminds us, what truly sustains a man is not built externally. The world out there is a stage of impermanence, and trying to control it is like trying to hold water with your hands. It always slips away. True mastery lies in understanding that, no matter how much external circumstances change, our internal response, our sovereignty over ourselves, is the only territory truly ours. And what if the pain that confuses you today is, in fact, a language of your soul trying to guide you to another type of power? And it is precisely from this perception of our pain and our search for genuine power that true fortitude begins to be built. Cultivating an internal fortress does not mean hardening oneself or ignoring pain. On the contrary, it is an act of deep presence and listening to the soul. It is to understand, as the Stoics teach us, that the body, strengthened, is a disciplined servant, and the mind, trained, becomes a sharp sword. It is not about shielding oneself against the world, but about nurturing a spirit that does not bow to adversity. Think of the metaphor of the mountain. It does not fight against the wind or the storm, but remains firm, imposing, allowing everything to pass through it. This internal stability, this inner transformation, is the true empire. It is not territorial, but existential, and its greatness is felt in silence, in serenity in the face of loss, in firmness in the face of temptation. The Stoic Epictetus said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This is the essence of personal development, the ability to find peace in chaos, to be strong inside so as not to fear the winds outside. Healing begins where you stop fighting what you feel. For Stoicism, the true empire is not territorial. It is existential. It does not need to be seen or applauded. It is felt in a profound silence, in a stillness that becomes your greatest compass. The greatness of this inner empire manifests itself in unshakable stability in the face of affront, in the serenity that embraces loss, and in the firmness that does not yield to temptation. This is the essence of one who is strong within, and therefore does not fear winds from outside. The absence of one of these pillars, disciplined body, sharp mind, nurtured spirit, leads to ruin, even when surrounded by apparent glory. It is a journey of constant refinement, where every external challenge becomes an opportunity to reaffirm the sovereignty of our internal state. Real invulnerability is not the absence of wounds, but the ability to heal, to rise stronger after each fall, nourished by the inexhaustible source of your own soul. But, while we focus on strengthening our interior, we need to be attentive to a subtle trap of modern society. We live in an era that idolizes technological progress and efficiency, but rarely questions the spiritual price of all this. We build grandiose cities, complex systems, but neglect the construction of our inner temple. Blind faith in technology and institutions leads us to seek external acceptance, a material progress that, without consciousness, becomes a trap. Like a vase that only serves because it has empty space, our soul needs space for silence and contemplation. When technology advances without the wisdom of spirituality, we create an outer world full of wonders, but a desolate inner world. Osho reminds us that meditation is not a technique to achieve something, but a way of being that allows us to be in contact with what already exists. The true awakening of consciousness invites us to reevaluate what progress truly means. It is an invitation to the natural rhythm of life, to the inner listening that reconnects us to our essential being. This trap of progress without a soul manifests itself when we value having more than being, doing more than feeling. The obsession with metrics, results, and the constant search for optimization robs us of the ability to simply exist, to contemplate the invisible. We lose connection with that invisible architecture more decisive than matter, your internal state, as perennial philosophy warns us. The spiritual price is high: anxiety, existential emptiness, and a sense of deep disconnection, even when surrounded by everything society tells us to desire. The soul, in its essence, does not long for more noise or a busy agenda. It longs for resonance, for truth, for a space of stillness where its own melody can be heard. True spiritual progress lies in unlearning haste, in detaching from the need to fill every moment, and in allowing silence to reveal the answers that the external world can never offer. It is in the pause that the soul finds itself and renews itself. And what if the haste you feel was, in fact, an invitation to stop and feel the pulse of your own soul? And this pause, this inner listening, leads us to an essential paradox of strength, the ability to be firm without losing our sensitivity. True strength is not to be confused with hardness. On the contrary, it lies in the ability to be vulnerable without breaking, and firm without hardening. Socrates, who walked barefoot and faced death with serenity, already told us that man should know himself before trying to know anything else. In this self-knowledge, we discover that active acceptance of our imperfections and pains is the path to resilience. Marcus Aurelius, in his Reflections, left us a legacy of how vulnerability is not weakness, but a portal to emotional healing. He wrote, "If the pain is bearable, bear it. If it is unbearable, it will destroy you, and so it will pass." This is not a message of resignation, but of a profound spiritual truth. External life is a testing ground, but what is being tested is not the world, but you. Being sensitive to the wind without being carried away by it, like water that flows and bypasses obstacles without losing its essence, is the daily practice of a lived spirituality. Letting go is like opening the hands from an invisible knot that held the heart. The paradox of firm vulnerability is the recognition that strength is not the absence of feeling, but the ability to feel them fully and still stand tall. Socrates, with his timeless wisdom, emphasized the importance of knowing oneself before any other pursuit. It is in this inner dive that we find the truth of who we are, with our shadows and lights, and it is in this radical acceptance that resilience takes root. The Stoics, especially Marcus Aurelius, guide us on this journey by stating that external life is a testing ground, but what is being tested is not the world, but you. This invites us to transform pain and challenge into catalysts for inner transformation. Firmness is not rigidity, but the ability to bend without breaking, to absorb impact without losing essence. It is like bamboo that bends with the wind but does not break. It is the courage to be who you are, with all cracks and imperfections, knowing that every scar tells a story of overcoming and awakening of consciousness. Sensitivity makes us human. Firmness makes us divine. And by understanding this firm vulnerability, we realize that life reveals itself not as a battlefield against the external, but as a stage of mirrors. Let us imagine life as a battlefield. But, in this field, there are no external enemies. Every challenge, every person, every circumstance is a mirror that reflects something that needs to be seen and integrated within us. The conflict is not out there, but in our resistance to looking inward. This is the essence of awakening consciousness. Carl Jung, with his profound psychology of the soul, taught us about the shadow and the process of individuation, where we integrate the unknown parts of ourselves. Inner transformation happens when we realize that the silent wisdom of our soul invites us to face not an adversary, but a reflection. The seed that blooms in the dark shows us that the deepest growth happens in the darkness of introspection. The universe listens to you when you learn to listen to yourself. This is the daily practice. Close your eyes and allow the battlefield to reveal itself as a sacred space of self-knowledge, where true victory is the peace that blossoms from silence. In this inner battlefield, the enemies are merely projections of our own insecurities, fears, and unhealed wounds. Every adversary that appears on our journey is a veiled opportunity for spiritual awakening, an invitation to look inward and integrate what we resist seeing. The metaphor of the reflection is powerful. The anger we feel towards someone can be a reflection of our own repressed anger. The judgment we cast can be the voice of our inner critic. The wisdom of spirituality teaches us that the universe is a gigantic mirror, and everything we see and experience is an invitation to our own expansion of consciousness. For a seed to grow, it needs the darkness of the earth. Similarly, the deepest growth of the soul happens in the darkness of introspection, in the silence that precedes the light. It is in this sacred space of self-knowledge that we transform struggle into dance, confrontation into integration, and fear into a profound peace that blossoms from within us. We have reached the point where silence becomes your most powerful tool. True power is not in controlling what is ephemeral, but in finding presence amidst the flow of life. Remember, you are not broken, you are in transformation. Every strong wind you face out there is an invitation to anchor yourself even deeper into your inner silence. The soul is not in a hurry. It has rhythm. I invite you to a simple, yet powerful practice. Close your eyes for a moment. Breathe deeply, feeling the air enter and exit, like the wind passing through. Imagine yourself as a strong tree, with deep roots planted in the earth. Winds may blow, leaves may sway, but your roots remain unshakable. Feel this firmness. This is your inner fortress, your invisible empire. Allow yourself to feel this reconnection with your essence. And what if the pain you feel today is the portal to the life you have always sought, a life of true spirituality and meaning? If something within you has calmed or awakened upon hearing these words, allow yourself to continue. Subscribe to the channel and activate notifications to walk with us along this fertile road of silence, discoveries, and reconnection. Leave your experience in the comments. Your sharing is also a seed of healing for other hearts. And to continue expanding this field of presence, we suggest the video that is in the card. May it be a gentle breath on your journey. Peace and light.